Whichever way you want. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm gonna try and set up where the phone doesn't fall. There we go. All right, good enough. We'll start in child's pose. And if you've been with us over the past few weeks, you'll start to maybe pick up the pattern and routine of our sequence and our flows through our nose. Deep exhales. Again, just kind of center down today. Again, like most things, before we have a workout, oftentimes we don't just go into it mindlessly, and so the same thing goes with yoga, with our point being to bring some intentionality to our movement and to our breath. And so if you're joining from home, whether you're live with us or if you're watching this at a later date, deep inhales and see if you can expand and lift your ribcage to the ceiling just with your breath. And then exhale and sink your chest to the mat. And you see here Logan's got her head turned to the side, which gives her a little more access to sink her chest further to the mat. Maybe your forehead comes to the mat. And take your knees to the edges of your mat, super wide, and then sink your hips down further. And I invite you to set an intention for your practice. What's something you want to hold to or commit to, return to throughout the practice, in the midst of maybe something that's difficult or frustrating or confusing even. And then your next inhale, we'll come up to tabletop position. And we'll move through 2 cat-cows. So arching our back, lifting gaze to the ceiling, pressing our belly button to the floor. And then on the exhale, arch through our back. One more sequence. And then we'll come to neutral. We'll do some big hip circles here. So working our hips around. Just beginning to wake up a little bit. Wrists, hips. And go the opposite direction now. And we'll come back to neutral. We'll extend right fingertips to the front of the room. Engage your core here and notice how your hips want to come out of balance when you do this. Maybe find your hip crease with your right hand. And then we'll come back to neutral tabletop. One more cat-cow. You should feel that if you've done abs anytime in the last week, you'll probably feel those lower abs really stretch. And then full exhale. And we'll press up into downward facing dog. Find some movement here, paddle your feet right and left. Just find what you need here. And we'll slowly, small steps, walk our hands back to meet our feet. And try and keep your palms on the mat as long as you can. Logan has the mobility to do it the whole time. And then halfway lift, flat back, squeeze your shoulder blades to the ceiling, forward fold, exhale. Extended mountain pose, fill all the way up, bring your gaze to the ceiling, forward fold, exhale. Halfway lift, flat back, again squeeze shoulder blades. And then we'll forward fold again. And then we'll slowly walk our hands back to the front of our mat for down dog. And again, find your breath here, 2 big breaths. And we'll meet on an inhale, lift onto your toes. Exhale, sink your heels and your chest towards the mat. And then we'll step forward, forward fold. Halfway lift, fold. Extended mountain pose, bring your gaze to the ceiling, fill all the way up into your belly, forward fold. Halfway lift, low plank. Plant your hands, move your feet back, full exhale as you lower, and then upward facing dog. Fill up into your belly again, and then down dog. And again, if you've been with us the past few weeks, the big challenge we've talked about is how can we connect to our breath? The breath is what drives our practice. And so using your breath with all of your movements, that's the way to bring integrity to the practice, and that's the way to actually challenge yourself. And if we want to compare to CrossFit in some way, like this idea of competing, that's the way to compete, honestly, with yourself, is can I commit to my breath, and can I allow my breath to be the thing that drives me? So we'll fill up. You don't inhale, deep in through your nose. Exhale through your nose, and we'll step or jump forward. Halfway lift, forward fold, extended mountain pose, forward fold, halfway lift, low plank, upward facing dog, down dog, and then step or jump forward. Halfway lift, forward fold, find your breath, extended mountain pose, forward fold. Halfway lift, low plank. Upward facing dog, down dog, find your breath, fill back up, empty out, step or jump forward. Halfway lift, forward fold, extended mountain pose, forward fold, halfway lift, low plank, upward facing dog, drop your shoulders away from your ears, down dog, and then fill right back up. Exhale, heels to the mat, step or jump forward, halfway lift, forward fold, chair pose. I'm sure Logan and you at home are excited to have the pause and the movement be in chair. And then we'll slowly begin to lift our right foot off the mat, keeping our weight in our left. Breathe. And then plant the right, switch, lift your left. Breathe. One more breath. Come back to chair. Forward fold. Good job, Logan. Halfway lift. Low plank. Upward facing dog. Down dog. Warrior one right side. Right foot steps through, back foot is at a 45-degree angle towards the left side of the room. Square your left rib cage to the front of the room. And then squeeze your inner thighs together. And then tuck your belly button into your spine. 2 more breaths. Drop your shoulders away from your ears, lengthen your fingertips. Last breath, low plank. Good job. Upward facing dog, down dog, warrior one left side. All those same cues apply. Squeeze inner thighs, rotate, just square your shoulders to the front of the room. And breathe. Tuck your belly button to your spine to slightly lift the front of your pelvis. One more breath. Low plank. Move through your vinyasa. We'll meet in down dog. For one more breath, fill up. Empty out. Step or jump forward. Halfway lift. Fold. Chair pose. One inhale, sink your hips. Forward fold. Halfway lift. Low plank. Upward facing dog. Down dog. Warrior one right side. Are you breathing at home? Low plank. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Warrior one left side. Expand, inhale, low plank. Upward facing dog. Down dog. And then fill up here for 3 breaths. 2 more. Maybe come back to your intention. One of the things I've noticed in my own yoga practice is that, and some actually Logan has helped me identify, is a lot of the thoughts that I have in a practice are not new thoughts in my life. And so when I get like frustrated at an instructor or pissed off about something with my body for that day or like soreness that I'm experiencing, It's usually a lot of blaming of other things as opposed to accepting the reality of what's just there today. And so accept it. One more breath, fill up. This is where we are. Exhale. Step or jump forward. Last sun B. Halfway lift. Forward fold. Chair pose. Fold. Lift. Low plank. Upward facing dog. Down dog. Warrior one right side. Low plank. Upward facing dog. Down dog. Warrior one left side. Low plank. Upward facing dog. Down dog. Fill up. Empty out. One more breath. Fill all the way up into your belly. Exhale everything out. And then crescent lunge on the right side. Notice your back leg here. Zip up your back hamstring. Press it to the ceiling. Engage your left glute. And then breathe. Drop your shoulders away from your ears. Hands come to heart center. And then we'll come into revolve crescent lunge. This is an anchoring pose, and again, if you've been with us the past few weeks, you've done this, and if you haven't, or maybe new to it, we're using our right quad to anchor, to twist through our entire spine. And so if you want more access to that, you make a fist with your right hand, place it on your left, twist open, and on your inhale, lengthen the crown of your head to the front of the room, and on the exhale, twist deeper, squeezing all of your oxygen out. One more breath, and then warrior two. Use your core, spin and open up. Back foot comes directly facing towards the left side room. Bring your gaze over your right middle finger. And then reverse warrior. Deep right side body stretch. Extended side angle. So your hand here can come to your arm, come to your knee. You can come to the ground or a block, sandball, dumbbell, whatever you have, water bottle. Engaging our core here on both sides, where we're not dumping into our leg, where we still have core engaged. And then pull your left shoulder behind you to open up through your chest. And the trick to do that, maybe look at your left hand through your right eye. One more breath. And then we'll bring our hands to the front, and we'll drop our back knee. We'll come into dragon. Our right foot comes to a 45-degree angle towards the right side room. And for a deeper hip flexor stretch on your left side, you can lift up onto the toe of your back foot. Lift your knee, or you can do what Logan was about to do. If you want to go there, you can. And breathe here, find some release. And then from here, we'll press back up into high plank. And keeping your foot where it is, can you take the weight of your leg and then slowly bring your right leg back to meet your left? Good job, Logan. And then we'll move through our vinyasa into low plank, and then upward facing dog into down dog. For one breath, fill up, empty out. And we'll come into crescent lunge on the left side. Zip up your right hamstring. Breathe deep. Tuck your belly up to your spine. Engage your lower abs. Hands come to heart center. And then revolve crescent lunge. Anchor on your left quad and then twist. Work here to stack your shoulder blades on top of each other. Bring your gaze to the ceiling if you can. Continue to breathe. One more breath here. And stay for the exhale. Warrior two. Inhale. Reverse warrior. Exhale. And then stay for 2 breaths. One more. And then extended side angle. Again, keep core engaged here. Don't just dump into your front knee. Pull your right shoulder towards the left side of the room. Look at your right hand through your left eye. 2 more breaths. Last one, fill up. And we'll bring our right hand to the mat. We'll come to dragon. And again, find your expression here, whatever you need at home. Maybe your right knee is on the ground. Maybe your elbows find the ground. Maybe you lift your right knee. For me, honestly, my knee's on the ground and I'm still on my palms actually because of my lack of hip mobility. And so find what you need. Logan has great hip mobility, so she's able to open up and get palms to their forearms to the ground. And we'll come back up to high plank. Keep your left foot where it is. And then with core engaged, lift your left foot and slowly bring it back to meet your right. We'll move through our vinyasa. Upward facing dog, into down dog. And then breathe again. Empty out. And we'll try some frog kicks here. We did this last week if you were with us. And so we'll work here to kick and stack our hips over our shoulders. You can bring your feet in just a touch. This is kind of the beginning of a handstand. You're working to stack, just like we would kick up into a handstand on a walk out here if you want to kick good. Great job. Beautiful work. And then from there, can we use that same movement to kick up and then float our feet to meet our hands in the forward fold? Yeah, good job. So we'll meet in forward fold in front of our mats. Halfway lift. Fold. Bless you. Chair pose. One more, somewhere. Sink your hips. Tuck your belly button to your spine. If you have a duck butt where you tend to stick your butt all the way out, can you lift the front of your pelvis? Just find a neutral spine. Hands come to heart center. And we'll come to revolve crescent lunge. Prayer twist to the right. Same as we did in crescent lunge or revolve crescent lunge. Anchor yourself. Check in with your left knee. Look at it. If it's pushed in front of your right, pull your left hip to the back of the room. And don't just address the symptom. Don't just fight to bring your knee back, but bring your whole left hip back in line with your right. And then twist deeper and then check in again. One more breath. Fingers to toes forward, fold. Pointer finger, middle finger, grab your big toe. Elbows come out wide. It's a great way to look at your biceps. They probably look really good. And then lift your hamstrings to the ceiling. And then keep the tension of your hamstrings in your hamstrings. When I do this pose, I always find tension in my neck and my face. I'm like clenching my jaw. Can you release that? Soften everything. Shake your head, yes and no. Open your mouth, wiggle your jaw. Keep the tension of your hamstrings in your hamstrings. And then halfway lift. Forward fold. Chair pose. Sink your hips. There's this thing that tends to happen when we're in a home practice. I experience this often, where I like kind of half-ass it and don't work super hard sometimes. And so if that's you at home right now, maybe you could work harder. Hands come to heart center, and we'll prayer twist to the left. Yoga teacher that I really love always says that in class, that some of you could work harder. Which, if that applies to you, then let it apply. Only you can answer that. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, twist. One more breath. And palms to toes, forward fold. So physically place your palms on the ground and you're going to step your toes up at the crease between your wrist and your palms. Take as much bend in your knees as you need here. Maybe practice putting weight 1 foot at a time into your palms to create a little counter stretch. And then we'll release our hands and we'll come into crow pose. So for crow, notice here, take your hands super wide on the mat, hands at a 45-degree angle, and then slowly begin to work your knees to the back of your triceps. And then one of the tendencies really early on in crow is to try and like jump forward into crow, but can you slowly just rock your weight, or maybe one of your foot lifts off the ground, then you're next. And then find stillness, and then breathe. And if you're at home and you notice yourself like jumping and like rocking forward into it, don't worry about getting into crow right now. Just worry about your setup. It's like with any Olympic lift, right? The setup is most important. Where almost it's that you surprise yourself that you're in crow because your setup was good. You slowly begin to rock your way forward, and then before you know it, your feet are lifted off the ground. So if you're in crow, we'll come out of crow and come into malasana squat. So feet wide on the mat, heels come to the mat. Point your toes toward the edges of your mat. Just make sure your knees are tracking over your toes. Hands come to heart center. And work here to get your shoulders stacked over your hips. Vertical spine as possible. And we'll come into malasana twist. Left hand comes to the ground, right hand to the ceiling. Press your left knee with your left elbow. Bring your gaze up to the ceiling. And then come back down through center and move over to the other side. One more breath. And then come back to center. And then we'll meet standing on our mats. So get that where we need to. Shake out for a second. My hips always are feeling a little bit of the tension of malasana squat. And then we'll come into eagle on the right side. So we'll ground through our left foot, bring our right leg over our left in a quarter squat. And then right arm comes under left. Logan has good shoulder mobility, so she's able to do this, but can you bring your elbows in line with your shoulders and then point fingertips to the ceiling? And then from here, the next step, can we squeeze shoulder blades to the back of the room for a deep shoulder stretch? Point your left toes or right toes towards your face. One more breath. And release. Even on the left. Same setup, ground through the right foot. And notice here, if you've done eagle before, there's a big tendency, I do this too, where like I really want to get my left foot wrapped behind, which is great, but it often pulls my right knee in and causes some pain. So don't try and make it look the coolest, but do what works for you. And so for Logan here, her left foot is just beside her right leg. One more breath. And then eagle on the right again. We'll be there for 3 breaths. So find the pose, find something new there. Maybe can you work to do something different? Can you lift your belly button, squeeze it to your spine, or can you lift your elbows in line with your shoulders? One more breath. And then switch sides. Maybe you have a little more access to a squat as you do this the second time. Maybe you notice it's a little easier to get your shoulders in position. Last breath here. And release. And we'll come into standing leg raise on the right side. We'll ground through our left foot. Lift our right knee. And notice here you can see Logan's leg. It's there. Everything's at 90-degree angles. This is what we want through the whole pose. And so from here, we'll open up, right hip, bring our right knee towards the right side room. Still working to create 90-degree angles. If you have the mobility at home or watching this later, you can reach for your toe. And then straighten your leg. No matter where you are in the practice, can you just find your breath here? One more breath. And then we'll go straight to airplane. With the right leg still lifted. We'll begin to hinge forward. And notice here, can we still square our hips to the ground? Which for Logan will mean our right glute. Yeah, we twist just a little bit. Create softness in your left knee. Lift your back foot higher, Logan. higher. 2 more breaths here. Last breath. And half moon. So with this, left spider fingers can either come to the ground, sandball, dumbbell, water bottle, a watered up towel, whatever you have, and begin to stack our right hip over our left. The tendency here is for our left toes to point in towards the right. So if that's happening to you at home, can you bring your toes back in line directly in front of you, and then allow the twist to come from your hip. 1 more breath, and release, come back to standing. Good job. Yeah, if you need to take a forward fold to release your spine. Shake everything out, and then we'll come to standing leg raise on the left side. Will you face to the front? Okay. So again, from here, we'll bring up left knee, 90-degree angles everywhere, and then begin to open up. And this is great. This is where you are in practice. This is where I usually go to in standing leg raise because I don't have the ability to reach for my toe. And maybe you have that. And if you have that, go for it. Good job, Olivia. And this is a practice, so the reality is if you fall out, don't worry about it. Get right back in. Find some stillness again. Don't rush to jump right back to it. The goal is to not be in a hurry in this space. 1 more breath. And then we'll go to airplane. Square your hips to the ground. And engage everything. Lock in your core, your lats, your shoulders. Squeeze shoulder blades to the ceiling, fingertips. And lift your back foot higher. Flex your toes to the ground. 1 more breath here. And then half moon. Notice your foot. Did your right foot turn to the left to allow you to open up more? Can you bring it back? And maybe your left hand doesn't come to the ceiling. Maybe as far as you get is right here. And that's great. Find what you need at home. 1 more breath here, and release. And we'll come into dancer on the right side. So we'll reach back, grab our right foot, and then begin to kick and lift to stamp your right foot on the ceiling, and then hinge forward. Two more breaths. Last one. And release. Stance on the left. Again, stamp your left foot on the ceiling. Can you kick your back foot through the wall behind you? One more breath. And release. And we'll come into tree on the right side. And we're going to be in tree for a little bit. Maybe if you're new to yoga and in a home practice, one of the things I love about tree early on for me was I could sort of do it. And so it was nice to have like some success in something. And if you're really experienced in yoga and practice yoga a lot, can you still find stillness in the pose? Maybe it's not super challenging for you, but it doesn't have to be right now. Find your drishti or still point, focus your eyes and your gaze, and find some stillness. Two more breaths here. Make sure you're breathing. And then we'll switch to the other side. And play around with it. Maybe you extend your fingertips to the ceiling. Maybe your gaze comes there as well. Maybe you just stay right where you are. Maybe do the same you did on the other side. One more breath. And release. And we'll come back to forward fold in front of our mats. Let your head hang heavy, find some release. Hopefully at this point your back is loosened up a little bit where you can fold. And we'll halfway lift, flat back, forward fold, extended mountain pose, gaze comes up to the ceiling. Forward fold, find your breath here, notice if you've been holding it, halfway lift, low plank, upward facing dog, down dog, and then we'll come into triangle on the right side. Right foot steps through, left foot faces towards the left side room. And then notice here, press the floor away with your right foot. I have my knees hyperextend a lot and I have a tendency to lock out my knees. Can you still engage your quad and keep your legs straight? Don't lock it out though. And then allow twist to come up, starting at the floor and then rotating through your side body. Squeezing the thighs together. One more breath. Inside facing wide leg forward fold. And take your feet even wider on the mat. And then we'll fold down in between. Finding whatever's comfortable for you. Maybe your elbows come to the ground, maybe your head does. And if you're at a home practice and you have a wall next to you or you feel good with a headstand, at your own risk, go for it. Yeah, I got you. And if not, we'll come into squeeze. We'll halfway lift if you're inside facing wide leg forward fold. Flat back. And then we'll slowly walk our hands over towards our left foot. And just continue, find a little stretch in your left side body. And then we'll walk our hands over to our right foot. Find a little stretch. And then we'll come back to center. And we'll come into triangle on the left side. So our left foot will point behind us. And then press the floor away with your left foot. And then spin your right rib cage to the ceiling. And breathe. If you feel a pinching between this in your crease here, between your left leg or your left side, maybe find like a block or a water bottle or something to prop your hand up. One more breath here. And then side facing wide leg forward fold again. And we'll come into skandasana on the right side. So working to stay on our heel, the right foot. Can we stack our shoulders over our hips? Toes should be pointing directly to the ceiling. And maybe we can't keep our heel on the mat, so maybe we come into our toes and that's fine. And from here, wherever you are, if you're on your toe or on your heel, can you extend fingertips and hands up overhead? Good job, Logan. And continue to breathe here. And then with fingertips in the air, can we stand back up to the middle? Good job, Logan. And then come into skandasana on the left. Good job. And maybe for setup here, maybe you bring your hands to heart center, maybe to keep your heel on the mat. Yeah, good adjustments, Logan. Yeah. And again, working to stack shoulders over hips. And so if keeping hands overhead doesn't serve you and you're falling out, don't worry about that. Take that cue out, reset, bring hands to heart center. One more breath. And then we'll stand back up Yeah. Good job. Forward fold again. Halfway lift. And then we'll turn to medium forward fold to the front of our mats. And we'll come into a halfway lift, forward fold, chair pose. And then sink your hips lower. And a little bit lower. And then can we sink our hips all the way till we come onto our butt and rock back into high boat. With high boat here, hands come beside our shins, shins are parallel to the ground. And then straighten our knees, extend toes to the ceiling. And then we'll drop into low boat. And then back to high boat. We got this one more time, into low boat. And then back to high boat. And then we'll rock back up into chair pose. Good job, Logan. And then forward fold. And then we'll slowly walk our feet back with super small steps. Back to down dog. Take your time getting there. And then we'll come to the top of a push-up. And then we'll bring our right knee to meet our right elbow, and we'll hold it there. And notice if you have a tendency to rest it on your right elbow, can you have it just barely touch your right elbow and hold. Engage your core, and then we'll bring our right foot back, and we'll bring our left foot to our left elbow. Breathe. It'll be over soon. And then left foot back. And then we'll lower the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everything to the mat. Let an ear find the mat. Feel your heartbeat through the floor. And just take a moment. Maybe find something to be grateful for. And then we'll set up for locust pose. And on your next inhale, we'll lift into locust. Feet lift off the mat, quads, chest, working to get everything, even our belly button off the mat. 2 more breaths. Inhale, bring your chest higher. Exhale, stay. Last breath. And we'll release. And we'll set up for floor boat. We'll reach back, grab your ankles. And grab your ankles, not the tops of your feet here, and then flex your toes towards the mat. And then on your next inhale, kick your feet through the back of the room, and then stamp your feet on the ceiling. And notice how that provides lift through your chest. 2 more breaths here. And release. We'll bring bottoms of feet to the ceiling, windshield wiper right and left to release through your lower back. And then we'll come to standing on our knees for camel. And we'll go right to camel. So hands come to the small of your back. Big chest opener here. Allow your head to fall to the back of the room. Maybe your hands come down to your heels or ankles. Not to do that. Okay. Keeping your hips stacked over your knees, even if your hands are all the way back at your heels. And then we'll release, and we'll swing our legs around for bridge pose. And when you get there, we'll go ahead and lift into bridge. And again, the goal is not to hyperextend or arch our back, but to create a straight line from our shoulders all the way to our knees. And can we rock on our shoulder, onto our backs, and interlace fingers behind us? And like we've done in the past, can we scrunch up the place between your mat with your feet? And now can we rip our mat apart with the bottom of our feet, noticing how it lights up glute medius and our shins, calves. 1 more breath. And release. And we'll do one more, either bridge or wheel here. So if wheel's in your practice, you can set up for that. You'll reach behind, flip palms. And on your next inhale, we'll press through our heels and lift up. Noticing here what's difficult about the pose. What's the thing that's causing you to need to come out of the pose? And can you soften in that area? 2 more breaths. Last one. And release everything to the mat. And we'll come into Supta Baddha Konasana. Bottoms of the feet come together, knees fall out wide. And notice here, continue to keep your sacrum and the small of your back pressed to the floor. One way to do that is to engage lower abs, to lift the front of your pelvis. Right hand to your belly button, left hand to your heart. And as it is with life for me, at least when I get to this pose, when my body starts to slow down, my mind starts to speed up to account for the pace that is not what I'm used to. And so if you've noticed your mind racing, can you just notice that, be aware of it, observe it, and then just breathe. There's no need to force it to stop or create judgment around it, just let it be what it is. And then we'll come into waterfall, bottoms of the feet lift to the ceiling. Do a little hamstring stretch here. And then we'll kick up into supported shoulder stand. So we'll reach back, hands will come to the smaller back to support. And the goal here is to work to bring feet in line with our hips best you can. Good job, Logan. Be careful not to move your neck side to side in this position. Keep your neck straight, looking at the ceiling. And then we'll lower toes to the ground behind us for plow pose. And maybe they touch the ground today, maybe they don't. And then we'll drop knees beside our ears. And notice the breath here in the constriction. Can you still breathe even though you're crunched up? You don't have a lot of space to fill up with air. And we'll slowly lower back down, 1 vertebra at a time, releasing. And then our feet can come back to the mat, and we'll come into fish pose. So setting up with our hands behind us onto our elbows. Let our head drop, open up through our chest. This counteracts a lot of the work that we do throughout the day, whether you work from home or work at a computer, work with your hands, whatever you do, we're usually crunched forward and over. And so counteract a lot of that. And release, and we'll come to reverse tabletop. Hips even higher. Deep shoulder stretch here. 1 more breath. And we'll release, hips to the mat. And we'll come to seated. And we'll come into seated forward fold. So extend the legs out in front. Lengthen fingertips to the ceiling and then fold over. We're working to create a straight spine, not just to touch our toes. So maybe you don't even get close to your toes, that's great. And then come back and release. And we'll move into frog pose. So we'll turn to the side of your mat and slowly begin to walk your knees out wide. And again, just like we did earlier with standing leg raise, we're trying to create 90-degree angles. So between our knees, our feet, and then slowly begin to hinge down forward. This is a great stretch for hip mobility in our squats, giving us more access to bring knees out wide. Also a stretch that brings up a lot of maybe thoughts, maybe even emotions. I hate this stretch and it hurts. And there's nothing you can do to move past that except get out of it. And so in a stretch that we can't work any harder in, where does our mind go? Can we commit to the stretch Can we surrender to it and just accept it for what it is? And maybe notice those thoughts that are coming up for us. And notice how those thoughts maybe come up for us throughout our day consistently. And we'll slowly begin to unwind here, slowly getting back up. And then we'll come to laying on our back. Hug your knees into your chest. Find some movement side to side, forwards and backwards. And then we'll come into reclined pigeon on the right side. Right knee over left quad, and we'll reach behind our hamstring or our shin. And flex your toes towards the right side room to lengthen your posterior chain to a deep right T-band stretch. And again, notice here if your mind starts to speed up and is racing. This is intentional stillness. I think over the past maybe month with quarantine, maybe you've had a lot of stillness that leaves you feeling pretty restless. And so how come with this stillness, it's not restless, it doesn't create this sense of like anxiety in us, but it's stillness that we can kind of settle into in a way that's we know is safe and is good. A stillness that invigorates us instead of causes more apathy. And we'll release, switch legs. We'll unwind here, hug our knees back into our chest. Rock forwards and backwards, side to side. And we'll extend our left leg long on the mat and come into supine twist over our left side. Anchor your right shoulder to the ground. Gaze comes over your right hand. And then bring your right leg over your left side body. And we'll slowly hug your knees back into your chest. And we'll extend our opposite leg long on the mat. And we'll come into supine twist on the other side. Anchor your left shoulder to the ground. For a deep spinal twist. You can notice where your thoughts are here. Are they thinking about things that are to come in the future? Are they thinking about things in the past? Or are they right here in the present? And no matter where they are, can we allow our breath to bring us into the present? Just to be right here. There's nothing else to do, nothing else to take care of right now. That'll be there when we're done in 10 minutes. And we'll slowly hug our knees back into our chest. And we'll come into happy baby. So we'll reach to the inside of our knees, outside of our feet. And we'll find some movement, maybe rocking side to side, maybe straightening one leg at a time, maybe straightening both legs. Maybe bring bottoms of the feet together for a deep groin stretch. And we'll come back into Supta Baddha Konasana. Bottoms of the feet come together. Right hand on your belly button, left hand on your heart. And we'll take hands, interlock fingers, flip palms to the back of the room overhead. And then we'll straighten feet to the front of the mat, biggest stretch of the day. Point your toes to the front of the room and then point your heels. And then let your ankles fall out wide. Bring your hands to your side, set up Shavasana or final resting. And for the practice today, this is where we'll leave you. Whether you're at home or doing this in a group, or practicing this later, not live with us. Find rest here, find stillness. I encourage you to take the time. There's nothing to do, nothing to hold, nothing to take care of. Just be right where you are. I'm grateful for you practicing with us, or watching, or however you're engaging this. We're grateful. With that, we say namaste, and we'll see you next time.